In this lesson, I'd like to talk about simplifying radicals. Sometimes we get a radical, say radical 16, and we know 16 is a perfect square, and that just simplifies to 4 because 4 times 4 is 16. 4 is the square root of 16. But what if we get a number, say, like radical 45? Well, there is a way of simplifying it, of making the number inside the radical smaller, because it can help with factoring, and this will be especially important in Algebra 2 as well. But when we simplify a radical, we look for factors of the number inside the radical and look for factors that are perfect squares. What are perfect squares? Well, other than 1, perfect squares would be 4, because 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 3 is 9, so 3 squared is 9. 9 is a perfect square. 16 is the product of 4 and 4, so 16 is a perfect square, as is 25. And if we keep going up, 6 squared, 7 squared, I'm making a list here on the right, 64, that would be 8 squared. Then we have 9 squared, 10 squared. These are all perfect squares. And so I've run out of room at 144. And really, these smaller numbers here are the numbers that we would most commonly look for as factors in 45. Now let's take a look at all the factors of 45. Besides 1 and 45, 45 is not a perfect square, let's look at some other numbers that go into 45 evenly. Well, 3 goes into 45. 3 times 15 is 45. And so does 5, of course. It ends in a 5, and all numbers that end in a 5 are going to be divisible by 5, and 5 times 9 is 45. Now, out of those 4 numbers, one of these is in our list. This 9 is in our list. It's a perfect square. We don't care about those. We care about the 9. So radical 45 can be broken down as radical 9 times radical 5. And the square root of 9 is 3. And so this simplifies, as in the radical 5 stays where it is. And so the simplified version of radical 45 is 3 radical 5. That's how we simplify a radical. In part 2, we're going to look at a number that maybe has more than one perfect square factor, as well as maybe some numbers that just can't be simplified. But this is our starting point, how to simplify a radical such as radical 45.